It's my privilege to introduce our next speaker, Professor Subho Roy, who will be speaking on the theme Infertility, Hope, Technology and Anthropology. Professor Roy received both his bachelor's and master's degrees in anthropology from the University of Calcutta. He later joined the Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata, as a UGC Junior Research Fellow to pursue his doctoral research and was awarded his PhD from the University of Calcutta. He has served at Allahabad University before returning to the University of Calcutta, where he became professor in 2015. He is currently serving as professor on deputation in biological anthropology at the Indian Statistical Institute, Kolkata. Beyond academia, Professor Roy holds several important positions. He is a government-nominated member of Rashtriya Manav Sangrahalaya Samiti, Ministry of Culture, Government of India, and was elected Sectional President of Anthropology and Behavioral Science Section at the 104th session of Indian Science Congress Association. Professor Roy has made extensive scholarly contributions with over 100 research articles and book chapters published in reputed national and international journals, including the American Journal of Human Biology, Journal of Biosocial Sciences, and the Journal of Women and Aging. With such deep expertise in biological anthropology, combined with his leadership in both academic and national institutions, Professor Roy brings valuable insights into today's theme. Please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Subho Roy.
A very good afternoon to all of you. Thanks to the organizers for this invitation. Well, the speakers, Siva Prasad and Madam, spoke almost in the same tune, similar rather. But my lecture would be a little bit different. And this is very much aligned to my area of research, that is reproductive health, but I have not started doing any research in this area, but I'll be sharing some of my thoughts and link it with some existing research. So the title of my presentation is Infertility, Hope, Technology and Anthropology. And here I would like to connect these three dots: infertility, hope, technology, and anthropology. Now, historically, we have been discussed a lot about fertility, fertility transition, growing population, how to control population. But the challenge is now infertility, that is involuntary childlessness, and nowadays voluntary childlessness. Now, let us start with some desirable social characteristics. Fertility. It is symbolically loaded, means production, completeness of family, lineage, assigns status to women. Say, for example, there are communities where larger the family size, greater is the status of the woman. Inheritance of property. On the other hand, from biological perspectives, fertility, they look it as a reproductive success, the basic foundation stone of evolution. The opposite to it is infertility, that is involuntary childlessness, which symbolizes one's inability to produce, labels as otherness, met with despise, marginalization, creates a state of mind, inequality, commodification, use of social technology, and social position. Biologist looks infertility from the perspective of negative selection. So, a change of state from infertility to fertility, that means from an undesirable social characteristics to a desirable social characteristics, we seek assistance for reproduction, which we called hope technology. And there are many of these, like intrauterine insemination, in vitro fertilization, intracytoplasmic sperm injection. These are the different laboratory methods by which we try to convert a subfertile individual to fertile. And also we use technologies. Couples or individuals who want children seek out gamete donations, while third-party participants such as sperm donors, egg donors, surrogacy, those who lend their wombs, they act as donors. That is third-party reproduction, a divided parenthood. Now, the whole issue of infertility intersects biology, technology, society, and culture. And here lies the anthropological interest. The fundamental question that centers around this issue is why we desire a child. Why we need a child. Does this desire remain couple bound or moves beyond family, society, and community? Having a children is a biological imperative for the survival of a group, and a wanted child can be a biological coup for a couple. A supreme biological moment of possible peril and trump for a woman. But what about non-human primates and non-humans? Do they sexually engage for the purpose of procreation, or is it to meet their innate sexual desire? What about our ancestors, the hominid ancestors? Did they used to get engaged in sexual activities for procreation or to meet the sexual desire? And what about band societies? Perhaps in these kind of societies, children were not treated as personal properties, perhaps as community properties, and they were true cooperative breeders. Then, in human society, from which point of time this sexual engagement, whose natural outcome is a procreation, got transformed to the desire for procreation? Is it from the time when the concept of family, concept of private property developed among humans, and we started treating children as personal property, private property, as biopower for the protection of community and property? Perhaps, maybe during the time of food production, when we became rooted to the soil. I'm not sure about it. What the mythology talks about. In Puranas, all deities except Parvati were infertile. And Puranas describe when you procreate, you give birth to one. But when you not, then you are caregiver of the universe. And it is also the fact that gods, they do not have property and kings do. Now, in Indian mythology, we have narratives what couples have done in the past to overcome the problem of infertility. Say, for example, in Agastha, in the Hindu epic Mahabharata, speaks of dharma. Producing a child is one's earthly duty and necessary for maintaining the stability of a society. One can only renounce the world after they had fulfilled the world duties, as presented in Manusmriti. In Hindu scriptures also suggest that another man in the same lineage can be invited to cohabit with the wives. This practice is known as niyoga. And we have examples like Vichitravira. When he died, his mother invited Vyasa to impregnate the widowed daughter-in-laws. And the produced children where the biological father was Vyas and legal parents were Vichitra Veda. So we have also examples of surrogacy when we refer to Kamsa and sister Devaki. The last conception was transferred to the Vasudeva's other wife, perhaps indicating of surrogacy. Now the whole story or the mythology centers around numerous incidents where sexual interactions serve as non-sexual and often a sacred and altruistic. In July 2025, the first IVF baby, Louise Brown, stepped into her 47th birthday. In 1978, her parents traveled all the way from Bristol to Oldham to deliver the baby, which Leslie conceived through IVF procedure developed by University of Cambridge. There was an intense media scrutiny, so also a religious proscriptions and opposition. She underwent a caesarean section, and July 2025, the first IVF child was born under the condition of utmost secrecy. For Leslie Brown, it was little short of a miracle because she suffered from tubal infection or infertility. Anthropologist Sarah Franklin in 1997, in her path-breaking ethnography of those early years, coined this IVF as hope technology to refer to promise of IVF generates among the first generation of British users. And since then, IVF has brought great hope to more than 8 million of infertile couples. Later, Franklin in 2013 argued IVF has spawned numerous biological relatives and become a platform technology for second generation ARTs. Is ART stratified? That is a stratified reproduction. Because assisted reproductive technologies have been available for more than 3 decades, and these technologies are still largely unavailable, affordable, and inaccessible in many parts of the world, particularly in low and middle income countries. Now, let me bring in a very landmark conference that took place in 1994 at Cairo, India International Conference on Population and Development. And in this particular conference, why I'm telling it is a landmark, this conference considered improving reproductive health as the key for population development. If you address the reproductive health issues of women and men, then the future generation will be more productive and it will lead to population development. And here, for the first time, reproduction was considered to be a right from the rights perspective or reproductive right perspective. And here, infertility was addressed as considered to be a treatment to infertility was considered to be an essential for reproductive rights, and couples should be mitigated for inequalities in safe and effective fertility care. 30 years or more have passed. In India, we hardly have initiative from public health policies to address this issue. 10 years before, a survey was conducted across 2 districts each from north, east, south, central and south and northeast. And it was found, the survey report said that 12 district hospitals, 24 community and 48 health centers and 48 sub-centers, they have only provisions for infertility, but the staff are not trained. Don't you consider that this to be stratified reproduction? Secondly, infertility treatments are primarily targets urban environments, 22.9% compared to 6.3%. Again, it is stratified. The supposed high numbers of infertile women in urban India have led in turn to emergence of an ART industry that is largely privatized and rests on inflated success rates of pregnancies and aggressive advertising. The third point that I would like to bring here, why it is stratified, from 1978, we find 54 ethnographic monographs, 34 edited volumes, 6 special issues of journals got published, reflecting global and local variation in IVF. And the list of monographs, however, also shows the uneven global spread of them. 34 from Western countries and 21 from non-Western countries, which reflects partly the even more unequal spread of IVF across the world. Again, a case of argument in favor of stratified reproduction. Now, what about this global technology? The technology is same, but how it is locally practiced? How it is locally practiced in India, in Ghana, in South Asian countries, and where lies anthropology here? While the basic technical features of IVF, that is hormonal stimulation and oocyte retrieval to embryo transfer, are similar worldwide, as socio-technical products, ARTs, and the ways they are offered and used are shaped by local context, circumstances. Many anthropological studies have focused on how the introduction of ARTs reflects and reproduces societal and cultural values, and how this affects the lived experience of people using these technologies, and how their introduction leads to the transformation of society and culture, how local contexts affect actual daily practices in IVF clinics. Thus, the often commercial and transnational characters of ARTs, especially when involving third parties, enables ART scholars to engage with anthropological debates on biopolitics, the politics of reproduction, commodification of body, neoliberal markets, privatization of healthcare, inequalities, reproduction based on class, nationality, ethnicity, race and sexuality, eugenics, and the appropriation of traveling technologies in globalized world. Building on the work of Marilyn and Kirsten, and both of them delve into various ways ARTs enable doing kinship, simultaneously reproducing and changing the ideas of biological relation, because while many IVF users continue to refer to the fundamental importance of personal biological ties, they also manipulate the meanings of these terms to accommodate a wide range of previously unimaginable forms of relation. Now comes the role of our world player like WHO. What they think about infertility. In 2011, WHO ranks infertility as the 5th most prevalent global health condition causing moderate or severe disability for women who are under 60. Same WHO in 2024 May refined their definition and referred infertility as a disease. So, the change of stand of WHO from disability to disease is problematic for anthropologists. Infertility is a condition. But simultaneously, when WHO labels or refers infertility as a disease, which means they are trying to throw a message to the nation state of addressing this issue at a national level, as a political level, and as a policy level. The effectively addressing the infertility health policies need to recognize that infertility is a disease that can often be prevented, thereby mitigating the need for costly and poorly accessible treatments. And we need to have and generate awareness, because many of the couples, they start deciding to go for infertility treatment much later in their reproductive life. They don't avail these facilities at the very beginning. The taking of this decision gets delayed for most of the couples. Secondly, the lifestyle issues that introduces behavioral risks, sexually reproduced STI problems, environmental toxins. These are the issues perhaps WHO wants nations should take care of in order to mitigate the issue of infertility. Perhaps this could be the reasons why WHO is now referring this as a disease. Now, in fact, if we look at the global prevalence, 8 to 12% of the couples, at least at one point of time, remain infertile. And there are two kinds of infertility. One is a primary infertility, another one is a secondary infertility. Secondary infertility means a woman or a couple has conceived once, but subsequent conceptions didn't mature because of infection-related infertility. And here we find a very interesting figure that although from 2004 to 2014, infertility prevalence became reduced from 186 million to around 48.5 million, but the prevalence is still high in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asian countries, especially those who are from low socioeconomic group. And in sub-Saharan Africa, there is a belt which is called infertility belt, mostly because of infection, STIs, and unsafe abortion. In India, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act got passed in 1971, but still that is because to protect women from unsafe hands. But still, huge number of Indian women gets aborted from non-formal, educated medical practitioners. As a result, the infection rate is high. And yesterday there was a report published by Indian Journal of Medical Research which suggests that there has been an increase of twofold in Indian population with disease with the secondary infertility. I will not discuss about, many of you are aware, what kind of challenges society encounters because of infertility. That ranges from mental distress to threatening of marriages to multiple marriages to stigmatization to rejection. I'll not go into it because there is a shortage of time. But here I would like to bring in that infertility continues to be highly prevalent, stigmatizing global reproductive health condition which can affect both men and women and is accompanied by significant and towards the gender effects. Surrogacy I will not touch upon because Sunita will be addressing this, but that is a very interesting area, how lending wombs creates a challenge and how India women has been exploited for decades, because surrogacy was actually legitimized by Indian government in 2004 to legitimize medical tourism, but now they have brought out an act to stop this surrogacy act. But the point that I would like to bring here is very interesting and very alarming, that is egg freezing. Indian women also have joined this. But in case of surrogacy, one thing that is actually questioning me again and again, there are cases, surrogacy means a woman is not conceiving. That means she is not experiencing the reproductive labor. Nowadays, rearing means you are sharing the labor because you are hiring somebody to share the labor. Now, in different countries, reports are coming. Couples are actually not wanting to share this labor. They are hiring people to share in terms of against money, so that they will bear the cost of reproductive labor. So bearing labor, cost of reproductive labor, both in terms of childbearing and child rearing is now getting transferred to a third party. So this is again a very interesting situation that will emerge. I was talking about egg freezing. Our research shows that how women of contemporary society, they postpone their child. Not women, but couples. Why? To pursue their career. And in Hyderabad, there is research by Anindita Mazumdar of IIT Hyderabad, whose research talks about how couples in Hyderabad, they are not finding time to getting sexually engaged, or whenever they are getting time, the ovulation cycles are getting changed. And this is how the challenge young generation they are facing, and how egg freezing has become very important these days. And I remember one of the gynecologists of a ART clinic, she was telling us, to the young generation of women and men and women, that why should you jeopardize your career? You can freeze your egg, and then whenever you want, you can get it fertilized and transplanted and have your baby. That means you are actually planning, you can plan these things, you can postpone your pregnancy, and you can do it according to your will. People cite reasons because, especially women, that highly educated women, they are not getting their appropriate partners to marry. I'll not go into this. This is a very interesting area. But the last part is very interesting. Women are getting pregnant after passing their reproductive prime. Research which suggests from Haryana, especially in Hisar, women of 60-65 years, they are getting pregnant and they are delivering baby just for having a son. So, reproductive decline with age is marked in a gendered way on the woman's body across cultures, even through their manifestation may differ. And such a conceptualization also influences the linkages with biological clock, forcing us to think of premature loss of fertility only by women, elderly women, not men. So women can become reproductively senile. That is actually the social construct, not men. And this has been again an interesting area of research, and how reproduction can be understood and mapped in ethnographic literature. Aged reproduction can be mapped in ethnographic literature within anthropology in Southeast Asia is very interesting. The last line, India is passing through a fertility transition. We are now below replacement level. At one point of time, the government planned to reduce family. Lot of schemes. Now the challenge has come that how to mitigate this declining fertility, not only in India, but in Ghana, China, and many others. And infertility is one of the major reasons why the fertility level across is decreasing. And India, the challenging part is, in southern part of India, the replacement level is very low, 1.3, 1.4. But in some states in northern India, especially in Bihar and Haryana, there they have above the replacement level. But in most of the other parts of the country, we have below replacement level. Now the challenge lies how to mitigate this issue. Shall the government of India, at least in India, will now focus on on bringing in policy to promote childbirth, as well as to mitigate the issue of infertility at a policy level, making it more accessible, affordable to the people of India. I end it up here because I promised to stand up within 30 minutes. Thanks for the opportunity and thanks for your patience.